Boys and girls, I think this is a video that's deeply important to all of us as gamers that grew up with video games, especially the 90s babies. But honestly, that's just me being biased, pretty much everyone, because this video takes a deep dive, and I got it from Maximilian, dude, one of my favorite creators on the platform. You see, he titled it, "Why Re-Releasing Old Games is Harder Than You Think." And what's funny is he reacted to this video, so I don't want to react to a react. But we've got the original video, the harsh reality of selling classic games for modern consoles. I'm interested in hearing the insight into why we can't get some of our favorite gems that we deeply want to be remade more often than not, or more consistently. Such as, for me, I'm a turn-based gamer. I grew up off Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, Final Fantasy 6 too, and I'm wondering, why can't we get more of these games remade? Legend of Legaia, Legends of Dragoon, why can't we get these games remade? Why is it taking so long? Fable, although it's been in speculative talks of getting remade. These are a lot of games I want to be remade, but I've never understood precisely why. And we've got an industry expert getting interviewed, apparently, that has some insider information on what is the holdup of these games. Another one that comes to mind is shit like Legacy of Kain, or one of the more open world induced Castlevanias. And then Soul Reaver, if you ever played that game. There's a lot of really fucking good titles that have kind of been lost to the Davy Jones locker, if you will. And I just want to know why. So we're going to check this one out.
Development. We just pitched one game, and he said, okay, so this sells, say, 100,000 units at $6 each. Why would we bother? We're making $2 billion a year, $3 billion a year. Like, what's the purpose?
Of course, the fucking opener of it is money. Of course. Hey, bro, frame one. It's just like, we could make more money, you know? We could make more money. Why the fuck would we do that? I mean, my God, chat. Holy.
Come back to me when you can do 100 games, all with modern controls and modern enhancements and remastered, and then we'll have a discussion.
Now more than ever, risk-averse publishers are looking at their old...
Just before we go any further, it's just a sad fucking reality, man, that we have lost the capacity to produce passion in conjunction with profit. It's just only profit. It's like these people have no fucking backbone for passion anymore. It's so depressing.
IP and bringing them back with remakes, remasters, or emulation.
Soul Reaver! I just called this game out, man. I wanted a remake of this and Legacy of Kain. Damn.
Ports. With emulation, oftentimes people wonder why so many classic games have not been brought back, or why they take so long to come back. These games in particular present a number of unique challenges that some studios are not well equipped for. That's where a company like Implicit Conversions comes in. And recently, I had the chance to speak with the CEO and ask them about the trials and tribulations of what it takes to bring a classic game back.
See, I think this is just such a good... Chat, I'll be honest. If y'all could send me videos like this, brother, I'll go live and react to them all goddamn day. Because this is the foundation of what I create content for. This is the fucking root of gaming, bro. Like, that. This is the shit we need to be talking about. This is the glue, like, for real. What an intro.
Bill, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fuck, I need to try and get some of these guys on my channel.
Excited to chat.
Can you explain why certain classic games come back? What
my man got straight into it.
Goes into choosing a game one over the other, for example?
So it's not a simple answer. There's two ways we can choose a game. So
sorry, chat. I'm sorry. I'm fanboying. You see that Legend of Dragoon right there, bro? One of the greatest motherfucking games of all time. This game, it walked so Claire Obscure could run. Yep. Is one of the greatest turn-based games. Oh, it was so ahead of its fucking time, bro. Such a banger. Dino Crisis, Wild Arms, Star Wars Rebel Assault. Holy shit, these games are taking it back, bro. Oh, man. Siphon Filter, Odd World.
Answer. There's two ways we can choose a game, but we don't necessarily have as much choice as one might think. There's work for hire projects where we're doing the work for a different publisher, typically scout publishers, looking at their back
Holy
catalog,
unk.
seeing if there's an opportunity to bring some of their
Hold on, chat. Let me turn the volume up a little bit more. I didn't realize it wasn't that high. Let's turn it up a little bit more so y'all can hear it. Sorry about that.
classics back to life, or they'll approach us asking if we can do the work for them. In that case, the publisher will request if we have the technical capabilities to do the project. And more often than not, they recognize us in the space for the work we had previously done and our expertise in the PlayStation realm. And so they'll ask us to do a port of a game or a revival of a game to various modern consoles. So our number one request right now is to get PlayStation 1 onto all the modern platforms, in particular Switch. And we can do that with our emulator, which we call Pancake. And that derives from our wrapper for the whole project, which is called Syrup, which has.
So he said their number one priority is to get PlayStation 1 onto all the platforms. Interesting.
All the different emulation features that we can add into it, like widescreen, rewind, save states, all the different things that you would expect. The publisher will ask us if we can do the game or not. If we can do it, we'll work with them to figure out what features they want. We don't necessarily get to choose which features are going to end up in the game. So we may suggest to the publisher, hey, like this game didn't have trophies in the past. Everybody expects trophies now. Let's add them in. And they may say, no, we're good without trophies. And usually it's because there's hidden costs behind every decision. The publisher will also decide where the game is going to be released, what regions.
I think that was very important information right there, chat, because they're basically saying even though they have the power to bring these games back to life and revitalize them with current day modern technology and perks, they still have to get approval for things as little as getting achievement just pop up in the game, like, oh, you collected 5 treasure chests. It's all in the hands of the party saying yes or no, we're not doing that.
And when it's going to be.
And yeah, he's saying it's because, and the reason the other party is saying yes or no is because everything costs money to implement.
So when we do work for hire, we don't really have much choice. It's either we get to pick a game then and they allow us to do it, or they're asking us for the particular game and they're determining all the different features. Now, the other model is a revenue share agreement. Publishers are.
Yeah, good old revenue share, chat. Yeah.
Are usually more open to this business model because there's significantly less risk.
Chat, who played this fucking game when they were little, bro? I played this shit out this game. All the unks in the chat getting exposed.
Them on the front end of the deal. So when you do a revenue share agreement, basically what we're doing as developers is we are taking on the development cost of the game. So we're choosing a game that.
What about fucking the Soldiers game? It had the same type of dynamic. You were little tiny soldiers running around a big ass house. Oh, dude, that Soldiers game was peak, bro. Army. I think it was Army Soldiers or something like that.
We think
Army Men. Yeah, Red Soldiers. Hey, Army Men, bro. Oh my god, dude. Army Men was some peak.
Do really well. We'll approach the publisher and say, look, we think this game has a lot of appeal for today's gamers. We can add some really cool modern enhancements for it. We estimate it's going to sell this many units. Would you be willing to work with us on this? And they'll say, yeah, but we don't have any budget for that. This was unanticipated. You just kind of approached us out of nowhere. So would you be open to a revenue sharing agreement? So in that case,
so frustrating to me to know that there are people out there trying, like this guy and his team, trying to bring these games back to life, but they have to get to the approval from probably some fucking dipshit that did what music industries did to artists that are now dead and gone, but they have all the rights to their music. Like, I feel like the people that are gatekeeping this shit, they aren't even the people who made the games. They're people who had an opportunity to secure the rights to the game, and now they're just purely gatekeeping it for profit. So, I can't prove that, but I just kind of have a pretty good guesstimate on how those conversations play out and how it even ended up in that situation.
We take on the onus of the development costs and all the engineering work, artwork, all that stuff.
Bro, what? Play that back again.
On the onus of the revenue sharing agreement. So in that case, we take on the onus of the development costs and all the engineering work, artwork, all that stuff. And then the publisher, in exchange, will give us a portion of the share of the revenues. Typically, there's kind of like a two-way system for rev share agreements. So initially, the revenue might be a little bit higher, like say 60-40 split, 60 in favor of the publisher because you're using their IP.
Damn, their IP. It's probably not even their fucking IP, brother. Oh my God. That's kind of annoying. And they're not, and the publisher ain't putting in nothing to get the game made. They're not putting in anything to get the game made. They're the ones taking on all the costs. And these things trying to do a 60-40. Hell no.
40% for us, the developer.
How's the... Oh, wait. Okay, never mind. No, yeah. How is the fucking publisher getting the bigger cut?
Until we recoup our costs. So let's say it's going to cost us $250,000.
I am blown away by this. You niggas ain't putting in on none of the development and you want the bigger cut?
To produce this game. So once we hit that threshold, then the revenue split changes. And then it goes 70-30 in favor of the publisher because...
Am I missing something here, bro? This publisher gets a bigger cut? What the fuck am I? Chad, maybe I'm like missing something here.
Now our costs have been recouped. But that license may last 5, 7, 10 years.
They say, all right, yeah, bro. So you recoup the cost you paid for the development. All right, now we're going to get a bigger cut now. Oh my God, dude.
It may last a long time. So the benefits of revenue share agreement is we get revenue for a long period of time, but we're at the whim of the publisher. Are they going to do a good job publishing the game? Are they going to do the marketing that's required for it to do well? Are they going to do some QA?
And that is where I was waiting on him to say, okay, when is the publisher going to fucking do their job? Because publishers are going to be the ones that get the game up and do all the marketing. That is very important. It's easily, I would say it's more important than developing the game, because if you don't market it correctly, then it just all goes to shit and all the work goes down the toilet.
They're going to make sure that legally everything's okay. And you may wonder, okay, so if there's no risk to the publisher, why wouldn't they just accept more of these deals? Because it's not costing. The engineering cost is the most expensive part of it.
Bro, please answer that question.
So why are they not agreeing? Well, it's because of those hidden costs. And those hidden costs, they range from a number of different things. The number one thing being legal costs, finding out if there's any issues with IP ownership or licensing agreements. And that can range from audio to VO to even graphics.
Oh. So all the people who worked on the game back when it first came out, the publisher, although they own the rights to the game, they don't own the rights to the work that was done to the game. Interesting.
In the game.
That makes a lot more sense.
And then there's quality assurance costs. And then as the publisher, there's going to be marketing. Are they going to spend money on booths at the event? So there's a hidden cost to every single game, whether they pay for the engineering costs.
That gives me more understanding of the publisher.
Or not. Back to your question of like, how do we choose a game? So we actually have a spreadsheet of a whole bunch of games we would love to do. We can estimate using a proprietary formula that we worked on to figure out how many units it might sell based on repurchase rates and various other factors. Like, is the property being promoted in like today?
Well, you say you wanted to be mad. Well, I still feel like the split is still ridiculous. I still think the people who are trying to bring these games back to life are taking infinitely more risk and carrying the weight of the project.
They're a new addition to the franchise, for example. So we'll ask, is there enough demand for the game? It has to be successful financially for us, of course, to be able to keep the business going, but also for the publisher.
Right. This is the part to me that's so fascinating, is the financial viability of individual classic games, and that some are just fairly niche. And so could you maybe elaborate further on that as far as the financial viability of the individual classic games?
Yeah. So when we approach publishers, we bring with us a slew of data. And really what they want to see is that there is demand for the game and chatter for the game in the online community already. I went to DICE.
I think that's such, and now I'm starting to understand why it's so difficult. There's games right now that nobody's talking about on the internet, but if you were to fucking announce them, people would lose their goddamn minds. But he's saying, like, as a selling pitch to the publisher, the game has to already be in talks, and there has to be a lot of spark of the game online already in order for the publisher to be like, okay, you know what? There's actually something we can work with here. There's some tangible evidence that this game is in high demand.
Europe last year, so 2024.
I feel like another thing they should be doing is just looking at how successful the game was in that time period as well.
And one of the roundtable discussions was about getting funded for your own games. A little unrelated to us, but the idea was publishers are so risk averse right now in the industry. You don't see a lot of new IPs coming. They like the idea of reaching back to their back catalogs because those are proven titles. But at the same time, they need to see social proof that there's actually demand for it. When we present to third-party publishers, Japan or even North American or European, we'll present to them a pitch deck that shows, hey, these 3 YouTubers have done videos on the game. It has 2,000 comments. People are clamoring for the game. They've talked about it for years now. There's a dedicated community that are doing mods for it. They're on Reddit. So we'll find all that data and support it that way.
That's a lot of fucking work too, guys, by the way. It's annoying work. You got to go online and get all of this aggregate data of people just like hyping up a game they want to come back. And then you got to present that shit to them with the possibility of them saying, no, it's not good enough.
And we'll look at the current climate right now. So, Silent Hill 2, for example, was re-released not too long ago.
That's smart.
That would have been a good time to do a Silent Hill Classics game because you can bundle it as a value add. And sometimes there are...
Or any games in a horizontal manner similar to Silent Hill, any other horror games.
Times when we've pitched a game, this just happened. I was at Gamescom and I talked about a game that we had pitched a number of times and it never went anywhere. And then we found out that the guy who originally, the creative director for the game, died in some mysterious way in Japan, and they just do not want to touch that IP anymore because it's in licensing hell for one thing, but also it has a negative space around it that game's off the table permanently for people. And that's fascinating to me. We know that this game, we don't know, but we have a strong feeling that this game would do really well. But unfortunately, it's just not going to happen for a variety of sometimes legal and sometimes strange reasons.
I get it. I mean, there's just, I can't exactly, don't get me wrong. I do think the publishers are being a bit of a pussy, but at the end of the day, a lot of these are trust me, bro scenarios from the companies that want to revitalize the game rather than guaranteed surefire victories for everyone, especially considering the publisher and the revenue split, as well as the hidden fees, as he mentioned, in terms of who created the game, and they're going to want those lawyer fees, as well as licensing hell, as exactly kind of what I mentioned. But then there's also the marketing budget as well for the game, and then you're hoping that after you've spent that marketing budget, there were enough people who really want to play that game that are willing to spend the money.
That exist out there.
That's so crazy. And I'm sure there's so many other stories like that, but that's the other harsh truth, is that some games, they just simply don't work financially.
If you think about it, a good example right now would be that Square Enix dropped in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it didn't meet the sales that they wanted it to have. And Final Fantasy VII is one of the biggest iconic IPs in the entire history of gaming, right? And so if you take a game like that, that's now getting re-released and it's not hitting the sales you want it to hit, which, don't get me wrong, I think Square Enix is definitely taking a lot of that blame on for how they developed the game and shit. But regardless, imagine the games that aren't even as monumental as an IP like Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, there are games, we've been asked to do, and it might sell 5,000 units at most, but it's going to take us 4 months to work on the game. That's just a project that we have to unfortunately decline, that we can't work on right now because we don't have the bandwidth and we can't risk it only selling that many units. And sometimes the cost for retro games are fairly low, like $9.99, $15.99 is kind of on the higher end. Typically they're $9.99 USD. On sale, they're down to like $4.99, $3.99 on a Steam. On Steam, they're even lower when you have the 80% discount days.
Right now, Christmas time, they got them deals.
Financial viability is a big reason why a lot of these deals will not work.
And of course, one other major problem is licensing hell. So let's acknowledge the elephant in the room here. Tell me about that.
So licensing hell is, if the game is in licensing hell, that means typically that there's a whole bunch of different owners of the IP or bits of licensing within a game. And it's just impossible to get all those puzzle pieces to fit together so that all the IP can be sent in one nice clean package to the developer or to the publisher so that the game can be released. And there's all kinds of reasons why that might happen. A game that's 30 years old, the documents could be long gone, or there's an addendum that was created 5 years after the game was released, but no one can find that, or it has fallen into the estate of somebody and that person has since passed as well. No one knows how to get a hold of the person.
Chat, that's my favorite game of all time right there on the screen, bro. Chat, that's Legend of motherfucking Legaia right there on the stream right now, chat. God damn it, Bobby, that's one of the greatest games of all time right there, boy. My nigga Jongi. My nigga Songi.
Sometimes they just don't want the game to be touched. They want the legacy.
There's my boy Vaughn.
To remain the same. Other times it's within audio. So a music track, for example, in a game, that's a pretty common issue where it's licensed for X number of years and they don't want to license it out to anybody else for.
That's crazy that they even try to bring games back like Legend of Legaia and Dragoon. The games I thought need to get remakes, even so, all the games I had come in mind, he's been showing them in this video. I'm so like, damn. W. It's like, it affirms that those games were indeed gems that need to come back.
Because it may change the integrity of the game. So you're stuck with it. You can't move forward because you're stuck with that. And that actually happened to us. We completed a game. It was engineering complete, ready to go on the PlayStation 1, ready to be released. And the publisher had approved it. The third party had approved it. And the game got canned at the last minute. It was pulled and it's going to sit on the shelf.
Tenshu, bro.
Indefinitely. And from what I understand, after hearing more of the backstory of the particular game, it will never be released in its classic form, but it may be remastered because that's a totally different contract, or a remake is a totally different type of contract. The sad thing is there are some games that are just dead on the table immediately. And those are sports games and car games. So sports games are very difficult to license if they use real player names, because you have NHL, well, I say NHL because that's the one I play every year, but you have the NHLPA, the Players Association, you need their approval, their license for it. You need EA's license, for example. Figuring all that out is challenging. For racing car games, typically they'll have a license to have a particular brand of car or model in the game for 5 years, or 7 years or something. And then after that, they stop selling the game because all those licenses have expired. And the other one in sports is advertising. So if you remember a lot of the games like Tiger Woods, they had Adidas and Titleist and all the different brands for a particular.
I'll be honest, remaking sports games, I'm right there with you. What is the point? I don't know, man. Fucking gun and ball gamers, bro. I don't know. There's just so many games that need to be remade. It's not fucking sports games,
for sport. And those are all licensed as well too. We have the tech.
And unless we're talking about the cool sports games, Blitz was so fucking peak. Yeah. NFL Street Volume 2. Yeah. Like shit like that. SSX Tricky. Sure.
Technology to replace those textures, but if those textures are everywhere, like they're a core part.
Blitz was OD, I know.
Then it makes it really difficult, and it's not really worth it at that point because it's going to cost so much time and effort to replace all those textures. Those types of games are
Jet Set Radio
really, really challenging, if not impossible, to do.
So let's get into the specific platform side, as in you build emulators for each system.
Def Jam, bro. Def Jam really was a peak game during its time.
As you go,
Def Jam
and you
Vendetta
initially began with PS1, but why PS1?
We chose to start with a PlayStation emulator.
Well, bro, PS1 had some of the greatest fucking RPG games ever
As our main project, because the demand for PlayStation games, original PlayStation games, was higher than anything else that was out there. So we focused our efforts on that. And our next big project is going to be PS2. So we're working on our next PS2 emulator because the demand for that is really high right now. But the demand for other consoles is lower. For example, we've had a few questions about the Nintendo Wii, but only a few people have asked about it. Developing an entire emulator for it for 5 to 10 games, it's not really worth it from a financial standpoint. And we would love to do it because our team loves these games and we'd love to be able to play them and give back to the community that way. But unfortunately, just we have to think like a business and make that tough decision and focus on the ones that are going to have the biggest bang for their buck.
Now, it was pretty big news, Bill, that on your site there was the roadmap section for things you're working on, and you were dreaming about PlayStation 3 emulation. So is there anything that you can say here?
Yeah, so we're working with a third party to help us with this. So we have a bit of a base to work off of. It's sort of a back burner project for us that we're investigating over time. To be transparent, PS2 is more of a priority for us just because of the demand. We haven't been asked for a lot of PS3 games. It's more of a, at this point, a fun project for our engineers. But the focus right now is, broaden compatibility on Pancake or PS1 emulator, improve Syrup as much as we can, work on PS2, and then we have PS3 kind of hovering in the background as we kind of work our engineering magic there.
I think what a lot of people are curious about, though, is simply the technical feasibility of PS3 emulation. You're dreaming about it, but what does that really mean if you can technically do it or not?
Yeah, so it's...
I feel like PS3... I don't know. I feel like PS3 is when we're getting to that time period where it's not too far behind in terms of how long. It was a while ago, but, I think there's just so many games on Dreamcast, on Super Nintendo, on GameCube, and PlayStation 1 and 2 that would need priority before we even talk about PlayStation 3 games, bro. I'll be real.
We believe it's technically feasible. I don't think anyone expects it to run on a Switch or a PS4, but we're maybe PS5, certainly PS6 whenever that comes out, and next instance of the Xbox, and maybe the next instance of.
What about this one?
So the other big thing we can try to talk about here is that your biggest client is Sony, I would assume, for providing classics on PlayStation Plus Premium. Is there anything even remotely NDA compliant you can say about that relationship between Sony, yourselves, and the various third-party publishers that are involved in that program?
There is nothing that I can say, unfortunately.
Fucking Sony, you piece of shit. You absolute piece of shits, bro. Why am I not surprised?
About that particular program. I cannot confirm or deny that we worked with them.
Yeah, it's a shame too. So I know that's the one thing that you can't really say much of anything about. And for a while, people never even knew that you were the ones doing these particular games. But again, there's your hands are kind of tied on this.
Yeah,
the smile said so much, didn't it?
We'd love to talk about more things, but unfortunately, yeah, there's a lot of NDA stuff, and once lawyers get involved, it gets expensive. So, yeah.
So one thing I'm pretty curious about is that you've been pretty diligent in going back to the classic games and adding trophies to the ones that did not have them. When this relaunch happened with PS Plus and these new classic games showed up, a lot of them didn't have trophies. And that's part of the cert process on PlayStation, is that games have to have trophies, but it's Sony's own requirement. They can remove that in the interest of more games. But I found it so curious that now some publishers are finally deciding to do it. So is that you guys approaching them and saying, hey, trophies are going to encourage more sales? Is that them showing up and saying, we want them now? What does that look like?
It's more the third party. So if you happen to notice, it's a lot of the first party games launched with trophies automatically. Any third party games, a lot of those did not launch with
I always wonder how Chrono Trigger hasn't gotten a remake,
trophies, and you're
like a full-fledged remake.
seeing those patches come out now. it's the third party deciding that, okay, yeah, we'll do trophies. Yeah, so I assume in some cases that's been waived, that requirement, but for third party publishers that have fairly big names, that are big names, that gets waived. Okay. It's up to them whether they want to add trophies or not.
So dialing back to this idea that publishers are more risk averse right now, and that has led them to look back at their older titles, do remasters, remakes, ports. Has this made getting work easier or more competitive in the space?
It's a good question. I think, it's an interesting. I'll put it in a different way. So yes, it has made it a little bit easier, I would say, and there is competition, but we're also working together. Like we offer a specific skill set that some groups that are doing retro games just don't have that skill set. They don't have the ability to do PlayStation emulation, for example, right now. So we're able to work with them. And so it's more of a we're all in this together type feeling.
We're all in this together.
Yeah, there is some competition for sure, especially when it comes to like the AAA titles. Like if you're trying to get a Dino Crisis type game out there, there's a lot of people vying for that game. And so you're competing against some of them. But like for more obscure games, there's less competition, I would say. We all believe in game preservation. We all believe that it's an important part of our culture that's slowly drifting away. Digital is sort of the only way we
Hey, chat. There it is.
Can preserve a lot of these. And that's where emulation plays an important.
Bro, snowboarding games were so goddamn peak, bro. Please put it in 2x. We're almost done. I think we've got most of the answers that I thought was important. I was just trying to see if he had anything else to like speak on. But if I'm being honest, I think we got most of our answers. We're almost done. We'll let this piece play through and then we'll be good.
Cool.
Right, yeah. And I don't know, maybe I'm spitballing here, but like I often think about the PS3 days and PSN on that platform, and you'd have PS1 and PS2 classics come out on what seemed like a weekly basis. Publishers were just kind of handing those games out because they didn't really care about it, and that was like 10, 15 years ago, right? So it was kind of no big deal. And nowadays, with publishers being more risk averse and wanting to use their older IP, it seems like
Darkstalker.
That's the thing now, is that they're keeping the IP closer to their chest. And if somebody like you approaches, it's like, oh, well, maybe not. We have our own plans. And, it's just maybe harder in that way to get work.
Yeah. So I can't speak for what they were doing 10 to 15 years ago, but I can speak to what we hear internally now. So when we approach large third-party publishers, their first instinct, if they have like 50
a lot of fans of Suikoden too.
Little studios that they're working with, or some are large, some are small. Their first instinct is to give it to one of their own studios to do the work. It's only when they deem that one. You know what, it's cheaper for us to just outsource this as a work for hire project and not have to deal with the QA and deal with all that stuff, because the vast majority of it will be handled by someone like us. Then once that decision is made, then we can get inroads into that publisher. But it's tough to pass that hurdle. It's really tough to pass that hurdle. Like I remember
I think we heard enough, man. It is unfortunate that, honestly, to boil it all down, it's pretty much they basically have to jump through 17 different hula hoops to try and get a game that were in the hearts of many of us back up to, modern day days. And the reason for that is licensing hell, profit loss, and risk as well. The cost of development falls heavily on teams like this guy's team to not only build the game up, but then they have to do a revenue share. I'm summarizing all of this up. A revenue share with the publisher who has the rights to the game, and the publisher who has the rights to the game has to take on risk because the game itself and how many people who they hired for the job to develop things like voice acting, audio design, as well as graphics. There are lawyers who also will they'll have to go through the lawyers as well to get those rights. It's like literally, to summarize it all up, it's like 35 fucking hula hoops. And then when it's all said and done, they then have to market this game, the publisher, in a way that is feasible enough to get people to purchase it and turn a profit. Not just a profit for the publisher, but a profit for the developer as well. On top of all those hula hoops. It's just a big fucking shit show. That said, I do feel like there's still those games. I do feel like there's still those IPs that are just, I feel like they would be a monumental success. Like like I said, bringing back Fable, I do feel like would turn a profit. But to be fair, the climate of gaming has changed drastically. We do have a bunch of gamers out here who don't even want to grind or play games the way they used to be played anymore. I mean, hell, we just came off of a topic where people literally advocate gotcha slop microtransactions purely for the sake of convenience and instant gratification versus playing a game to grind it through and be rewarded in an old fashioned manner. I think there's a lot more nuances that wasn't even delved into with this video that play into it that also kind of turn the odds, unfortunately, not in the favor of a game we would like to see revitalized. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting watch for sure, though. And a lot of the answers kind of were what I expected.